Two. That's your thing. I know, I didn't either. Okay, so we have a thread base now from 3 eye lengths back all the way back to the base. Now, our tail, for the tail, we're going to use those larger feathers that you have. And, you know, a dozen or so fibers, something like that's fine, but I don't like to count, and I'm probably not going to count. So I'll just strip down, about maybe a little more than 1/4 of an inch or so of fibers. When I say 1/4 of an inch, I'm just measuring along the shaft of the feather there, and just pull them out to the side where the tips are even, like this.
That's the small feather.
The large feather, large feather.
The largest, the wing feather?
The large wing feather, yes. Yep, the large feather.
This one here?
No, you should have one bigger than that, Bruce.
There's the dark side and there's the light side.
Well, get the longest side, Jim.
I don't have two.
You only have 2 feathers.
How did I miss that? I had two.
But he didn't have any big ones. You don't have the 2 small ones.
Might have blown out the door.
Yeah, wind coming.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, what do I do with mine? Here it is. And if you have a choice between a dark and a light side, I would do the dark side, since it's a March brown. So I've got about a little more than 1/4 of an inch. I have the tips even. I'm going to grab them with my left hand and pull the fibers off the feather shaft with my right. And I'm going to take my scissors and cut those little curlies. And then I'm going to transfer it back to my right hand. And I have a clump of feathers. Now, the number here is not critical. If you like sometimes even Jeff's flies, I've ordered a half a dozen or so of these. Some of them have thin tails, some of them have really bushy ones. So it's just kind of grab whatever you like. And we want the tail to be about as long as the hook shank. But this is why I put my thread here in front of this, just in front of the hook barb. So what I want to do to measure my tail, notice I have it, I'm a right-handed tire, so I have it in my right hand. I'm going to move my fingertips to where they're just above that thread point. You can see that tail sticking out quite a bit in the back, and we want it to do that. And then I'm going to move in with my left hand, touching my thumb and 4 fingers together to keep that measurement. And now I'm holding it in my left hand. Okay, everybody with me so far? Give your bobbin a good counterclockwise twist and let that thread uncord, because when we wrap it, we want it to jump back. Notice how when it's jumping back on me now. If that thread were wrapped up, let me wrap it back up. If it were wrapped the other way, see, it wants to jump forward, and it's very difficult to tie. So we give it a good counterclockwise twist so it'll jump back for us. And then take a couple of loose wraps at first, and then wrap forward over your feather with fairly, they don't have to be really tight wraps, just fairly. Don't let go of your feather with your left hand yet. So wrap forward and then come back to the starting point. So once we get back to the starting point, I'm going to angle my fly so you can look down on the top of it. I'm going to pull that feather back towards me. So as I wrap, it's going to roll on top of the hook and stay on top of the hook. So I'm going to pull that feather towards me, and I'm going to take wraps all the way back to the back of our thread base, which should be just above the hook barb. And when I get there, I can let go. And then bring our thread back to that point hanging. And I know it's hard to see the thread on here, but because it's hanging just in front of the hook point. So now we have our tail. All right, let me zoom back out here. Right. Now, for the body of the fly, remember we have the brown dubbing for the body of the fly. And so that's what we're going to apply next. And see, we're going to dub from our tail up to that point where the front of our thread base is. So that's what we'll do next. All right, y'all online, just hang on just a second. It's going to be interesting how we can do this without a camera.
Remember you said you changed to a different adapter, right?
Not
That was the
here.
Same one?
Same one I've always used, yeah.
Oh, okay.
My phone's been giving me trouble, but,
Okay.
and it's not going to cool off.
Need another phone?
You have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Yep. That's iPhone? Okay, yeah.
Mine's ancient.
Yeah, does it have a lightning adapter on it? On the bottom?
Have a 13.
That's 11.
Oh, yeah, yeah, here we are. We'll look at Jim's remodeling stuff while we're plugging up here. All right, hang on, y'all. Sorry, technical difficulties.
Degrees.
All right, we're gonna have to do one more little thing different here. Hang on.
Anybody got any tan thread?
I do, Carlton, if you need some. All right, y'all, we're almost back in business here. So I'm glad I'm not a technology director anymore. It's embarrassing. I hear John Maples laughing out there at me, so.
That's it. Oh, no, I just got here. I couldn't
All
get
right.
in.
Okay, all right, we're making do here. I think that will work. Yeah, it's not as big.
So I get a spam.
Do a spam call while you're doing this. All right, where were we? Oh, we were about to apply dubbing. So what we want to build here is a very slim dubbing noodle of about no more than 2 inches, probably an inch and 3/4 is more like it. So I pull out about 4 inches, 3 or 4 inches of thread. And this dubbing mix is just a concoction I came up with. I'm embarrassed to say how many different kinds of dubbings in it. It's like 5 different kinds of dubbing to approximate Jeff Guering's. And he didn't tell anybody what's in his dubbing, or at least I've not heard. It's got some yarn and some other stuff in it. So you can't get it, but really any March brown dubbing. If you look at any of the rabbit colors out there, this March brown is fine. And we want to use some really sparse dubbing. We want this hairs here builds up quickly. So start by just taking the smallest amount and rolling your thumb and forefinger together. Thread. And too little, you don't. Take that, as Jim used to tell us, cut that in half again. All right, now, if you have little thin spots in your dub, add a little piece to that spot. And so I have about a 2-inch dubbing noodle there. And I probably will not need that much. But it's not hard to take off. I give everybody a second to get that dubbing noodle built. Jim, I need to give you my camera app in case we have to do this again sometime.
All right.
Well, I got a charger. Same thing. Trouble, and it's hot. Our dubbing noodle bill. See, I'm wrapping that back on purpose back to where I hold my dubbing base of my tail. And I just make and fairly pretty much about work out just right. My camera going out. Going back with dubbing portion that fall base, which mark the. Now, if you hairs, that's fine.
How far do you go with front of the?
Started your thread back, so stop right. I don't know if you can see it. About on the hook. Pixelating pretty good there. I'm about a third of the to the front of the.
Are you shooting?
Not necessarily. No, not really. If you and I haven't noticed my soft tackle anyway.
Not great audio. Not great audio.
Say again, Peter.
Not great audio or video. I'm getting every other word.
Uh-oh, hang.
Maybe it's just me.
Phone's actually back on. It's tech night.
You're doing a great job.
Can you hear me now, or is it still?
It's in and out, but I can hear enough. I can hear enough to try to put it together.
All right, let me go back to my phone. That may be what overheated. I was running my hotspot because the internet here is so bad. All right, let's see. All right, take two here. I'm gonna keep your phone, Jim, if you don't mind, in case I need to take three. All right. I have never had technology not work before. Never even heard of such.
Back on.
What?
Do we get an evaluation form after this?
No. I had one, but I knew Cindy would be here, and so I threw it away.
Wait, you said you never had technology fail on?
Never, no. Except when I'm using it. For those of you who don't know me, I was a school district technology director here for a long time, 15 years. So yes, I made my living on computer problems. Probably created most of them through. All right, let's see here now. See if we can get back going. Okay. All right, that's better. We'll see how long it'll last. If not, I have Jim's phone here. All right, so now we have our dub body all the way up to that forward portion of our thread. And you have two small feathers. You have one feather that is gray, kind of a light speckled gray, something like, grab one here. And you have one that's brown. You have one that's kind of a grayish or grayish brown like this, and then you have one that looks more like this. let's use this one. This is the wing feather. I showed you those wing pairs a second ago. This is the one from the wing. And what we want to do with this one is we want to strip all that fuzzy stuff off the bottom and most of the feather barbules until we get it looking something like this. Once we strip everything off, we want it about like that. And I only have about a little over a ½ inch of feather fibers left. We don't have a lot. We have about maybe 5/8 of an inch left there. So we want to get to this point, and we're going to tie this in by the tip. So once you have all of that stripped, and you just grab it and strip it, just grab and strip until you get down, something like that. So once we have it stripped, either hold it with, if you're like I'm right-handed, or if you're left-handed with your other hand, I'm holding it with my right hand, and I'm going to pull these feathers back, the fibers back, while holding the very tip. Now, if you have some nice little hackle pliers like these I'm about to show you, these are old Griffin hackle pliers, it is much easier just to hold it with these hackle pliers and pull it back. But either way works fine. Either hold it with your fingers and pull it back. And what we're doing is we want to prepare this soft tackle for a tip tie-in. We're going to tie it in by the tip. And so once I get that little triangle, we're going to take our feathers and take our feathers. Oh, mercy. Take our scissors and cut off most of that, leaving a very small triangle. And so this is what I should have, something that looks similar to that. Now, once I have that, I want to hold that little triangle against the very front of my dubbing and take a couple of loose thread wraps and then tie down that little triangle. Make sure it doesn't go over the hook eye. Tie down that little triangle and leave our thread hanging just in front of our soft tackle. Good question. Thank you. I omitted that. The concave side toward the hook shaft.
Okay.
In other words, the inside of the bend goes toward the hook shaft. Thanks for reminding me. We want these feathers to sweep back when we tie them in. And if we tied it in concave up, they would stick forward. Yep. Good. Now, does anyone not have hackle pliers? Here, there you go. Anybody not have hackle pliers? That's right. Yep. Okay. So what we want to do now is, I like these hackle pliers that are really like the electronic test probes that Catch put us on. Yep, and they're really good for soft tackles. So I'm going to grab that. Now, if you pull too hard on this, it's going to break. I mean, put almost zero tension on it. Almost zero tension. Let me get back in focus here. There we go. And then I'm going to gently sweep these fibers back. Just kind of pinch them, not really pull them back, just kind of pinch them back. And then you can hold them back as you wrap. And we're only going to make 2 or 3 wraps here at the most. So each time I go around, I kind of hold them back so they won't wrap on top of each other. And I'm probably going to get about 3.5 wraps out of this one. And wrap, use just one wrap just in front of the other, but don't palmer it forward. You really want them all as close to the same place as you can get it. Good question. Until I'm left with just a bare stem like this. Whoa, camera. So wrap until you get to your bare stem. Again, don't palmer it forward to the eye. Kind of wrap it back on top of each other. The wrap's very close to each other. Not quite on top, but very close to each other. What's that?
Mine don't look like it was anything sort of. They're in a bit.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and tie mine right now real quick. So, because I've got bare stem and I'm bringing the thread to the rear of that bare stem, if you can see it there. So I'm tying down that bare stem. I'm to the rear toward the back of the hook from that bare stem. And I'm going to take 2 wraps. 2 wraps is enough. Give it another little tug of tension and then another wrap and trim it. And we're there. All right. I don't like that little feather right there. And trim it. Yeah. Yep. Then once I've trimmed it, I'm going to take 3 or 4 more wraps over that and maybe hold this back with my fingers just to make sure everything's bound down. Because that soft tackle will come loose if you don't take a few additional wraps after you trim the butt of it off. All right, we'll pause right there and let everybody wrap and tie. And we're almost finished. What you need? The wing feather? Not plenty. These are better brown to get along to one of these. These are.
Do you have a problem with like the bear hook where we're tying it in, there's no thread, right?
There's no thread there, right?
I have a heck of a time trying to keep, when I'm tying in there, it always seems to pull out. I don't know.
The hackle pulls out?
Yeah, the hack will pull out, because I've always put up, just have just a little bit of thread there to.
Yeah.
It'll pull out at the tip when you start to
pull out
wrap
the
it?
tip on it. Yeah, so I don't know, maybe I'm just pulling too hard.
Yeah, Jeff's asking a question about the hackle pulling out by the tip. That little triangle that pulls out. And there's a couple of ways to prevent that. One, what I did here was I wrapped it at the point of that triangle, between the triangle and the hackle, and then wrapped that triangle down all the way forward.
Okay, so the whole triangle. Okay.
I'll wrap the whole triangle. That's one way. But if you're at the hook eye and don't have space to do that, flip the little triangle. After you wrap it a couple of times, flip it up
Okay.
and over and tie behind it,
Okay.
and that'll hold it. Kind of almost like a reverse tie, like we do with streamers, kind of thing. Yep, and that'll hold it in. All right, now we only have one more step. Hackle's tied in. Yep. So grab our light colored dubbing. And again, this is Wapsie Rabbit. This is a 50-50 blend of cream and tan, but either one of them by itself would be fine. Tan would be fine, but I guarantee the fish can't tell the difference. I was just trying to match Jeff's pattern. And we only want about a 3/4 inch dubbing noodle here. So you're not using much. I mean, this is just the tiniest of wisp. And I've got way too much here. I think, well, that's pretty thin. So let me add a little more at the top. And we're going to taper this from a large, wide in the back to narrow in the front. So we're going to wrap a little more back toward our feathers here.
Yeah, you're using dubbing loop.
Did I say loop?
Yeah, you did.
I did. Dubbing noodle. Sorry, noodle.
Okay.
Noodle. Yes.
Okay.
I also called my scissors something else a while ago too. So I'm glad Cindy doesn't have an evaluation form. All right, we're pulling back. Let's pull back gently on our soft tackle to expose the front. And we want to wrap this over the front of that soft tackle, and that'll help hold that soft tackle to the rear. And so I'm taking a couple of wraps on top of each other because, again, we want to taper from wide at the rear to narrow at the front. See, I've got way too much dubbing, so let me pull that off. And I just pull it off and just kind of trim the little excess there. And once we get to this point, we can whip finish or we can half hitch, whatever our preferred way of finishing the fly is. I'm going to hold back and take a few thread wraps. And I'm gonna whip finish mine. I don't use head cement on this because it either gets on the dubbing or it gets in the eye of the hook. So I just do a couple of whip finishes, or you do a few half hitches and you're good to go. All right, trim it off. Clean things up if you're disposed to do so, and that's pretty much it. Now, again, the platform of this fly is really flexible. You can tie a lot of different colors with it. I don't know if Robert or Carlton, have y'all fished this other times of the year and it worked or no?
Yeah, I'll fish it, like June as a, just for dark, as a, stripping it as an emergency.
Yep. Well, I know this, this yellow one that I tied and fished with back in January had really aggressive strikes and it was the last hour or so before dark. You see them hitting the top, but they're not really true risers. And you throw this out there and it just is just under the surface. And sometimes you see that wake as they attack it, just slamming. It's really, really pretty cool.
I never knew it was meant to be stripped in.
Yeah.
Until I read your description.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, there are other, let me talk about hooks again. You'll see some hooks like Stockard sells one that's called a 3X long Nymph hook. It's not the same hook as these. It's a heavier wire hook. So it'll sink more. So, and if you want it to sink more, that's a good thing. Like if you're tying this wild Christmas tree looking bluegill version of it, you might want it to sink a little bit more. And you could even put a little weight on it if you wanted to. But this will ride matter of fact, when you first throw it out there, it'll actually float like a drive for the first few casts until you strip it in and get it wet where it goes just under the surface. Do y'all want to tie one more? All right. All right, y'all, one more. We are going to, all right, let's pop our hook back in. Get the hook back in the vise. And again, we start that thread about 3 eye lengths behind the hook eye. Whoa. I should have used black thread so y'all can see it better. Come on. Yeah, black. Yeah, let's swap for a second.
Maybe too big.
Was this 140?
No, I think it's 6. Might be too heavy for it.
It'll be fine.
I think I might have some black.
It's fine. It's good. All right. Yeah, it shows up much better. All right. Starting just,
Yes, I see that. That's a good point.
let's wrap back to the hook barb and then leave our thread hanging just in front of the point of the hook. And we take some of those, one of those wing feathers, one of the large feathers you have. And I'm grabbing about probably a good 3/8 of an inch of feather down the stem. It doesn't matter which side's facing you here. I'm grabbing it with my left hand to keep the tips aligned and stripping it off and then trimming the little curlies. Move it back to the right hand. And we want this hook shaft length tail.
Where do you leave this, right after?
Just in front of the point there, Bruce. Yep, just in front of the point of the hook. Yep. Okay. So go ahead and strip off your large tail fibers.
This one?
Yes. Yep. Strip off. Grab you about a 3/8 inch length of feathers down the long side from near the bottom. Yep. Hold the tips even with your left hand. Strip them off.
Yeah.
And then again, we transfer that measurement back to the rear. Move it to our material hand, give our bobbin a counterclockwise twist. Now this time I've got 140 denier thread, 6/0, so I'm not going to wrap forward. I don't want that thickness, so I'm going to trim that off. So wrap back. Remember, I'm holding my material towards me, so it'll roll on top of the hook. And I'm actually going to trim this time instead of tying it because I've got thicker thread. Shows up a lot better, a lot better on the camera.
One of this on his dubbing, should we tease it out when we get through?
I wouldn't, no, it'll, it's meant to be, once they're at a merger stage, it's a pretty slim body, that adult body coming out of the case, and it, I think, and Jeff ties them slim. All right, so here we're going to again build about an 1.5 to 2 inch dubbing loop. And again, with the reddish brown dubbing. And the thinner, to reiterate that you apply this, the more thinly you apply it, the better. It's just a lot easier to handle. And again, if you have, so I have about, I again built about a 2 inch noodle, but 1.5 inches or so is fine. All right, then I'll wrap that bare thread back to where my noodle starts, right at the base of my tail. And wrap forward to the front of my thread. Jim, you need to buy an iPhone 13 so I can try it and see if it works better.
Stuff looked like you found it under your sofa.
This is a 13.
Oh, it's a 13.
Mini. Only got two.
Two.
When she can't get a hold of it, that's when you get these.
Jim?
So when she calls you, can't get her.
Oh, log in.
I'll log in, one. All ones.
Okay.
My grandson said, "What is this?" One.
All right, here we go. Back to Jim's phone. And you can see this rabbit's pretty buggy. It's got all sorts of guard hairs in it. I like to trim most of those off, so I have a relatively smooth body. Now this time, let's use that other feather so you can get an experience, the grayish partridge feather. Now this one I have is a little bit too big, but I'm going to use it anyway. It's when you measure these, the fibers should be about the length of the hook shaft. And the nice thing about this fly, the way it kind of pulsates and runs in the water, it doesn't matter if your hackle's a little bit too big. It's kind of that spidery leg look anyway. So I'm going to strip this all the way down. To where I have feathers, and they're actually about the same length. So this is going to be okay. All right, now I'm going to use my little hackle pliers here instead of my fingers. Like this. I'll hold the tip of the hackle with my hackle pliers, and then I can easily just sweep it all back. Like that. And then
you tie that feather in, do you wrap behind it, your thread?
yeah, I do. Yep.
And you tile in front of all that.
Yeah, I do. I tile. Yeah, I'll show you here. Robert asked a question, do I wrap in front or behind my tying thread? And I wrap behind. So when I have that little triangle and I trim it off, and Jeff, this is kind of like your question here. I trim it off. I tie it in right against my dubbing at inside of that triangle, and then I wrap forward. And I bring my thread back to about the midpoint of that gap, Robert, right there. So I'm wrapping behind the thread. Now, Robert asked a question, when I wrap the hackle, am I wrapping in front of my thread or behind it? And I'm wrapping, my thread, you see, is about here, about almost midway, a little bit back of midway between my hook eye and the front of my hackle. And Jeff, with your triangle, don't do what I just did and have it extend over the hook eye like I told you not to do a while ago. Yep.
Yeah, trim it. It's easier.
I folded it back.
You fold it back? Yep.
Folded it back to wrap that
So-
time. It was a little more.
So then we grab with our hackle pliers and do our wrap like we did before. Yeah. And that's the way I tie them in, Jim, like if I'm up against the eye of the hook, I tie them in that way.
Make sure that time I gave myself more.
Yeah.
Crowd.
Did it break, Peter? I sent y'all some extras in case it breaks. I hope you have extras. Hope I sent them anyway. And so I wrap up and I hold that bare shaft kind of forward and then just loop my thread over it. Give it a couple of good tight wraps over it. And then I like to pull it back and put one right up against the front of it. Trim it off. Sweep everything back a little bit. Give it a couple of wraps just to secure it. I don't care who you are. That's a good looking fly. Jeff did good on this one. All of his flies are effective. So now we have our partridge tied in. We want our cream colored front, tan front. And again, just a short piece. What's that? All right, so that one's about 3/4 to 1 inch. So hold that soft tackle back. Make sure I start my first wrap of dubbing over the front of that soft tackle so it will hold it swept back. And then if you're lucky, like I just got, your dubbing's going to end just behind the hook eye without having to peel any off. Now this time, just for the half hitchers out there, I'll half hitch it instead of whip finish. So using the half hitch tool, but I'm going to use a double half hitch. And here on this one, you got to make sure it doesn't go into the dubbing, as Jim, like mine just did a little bit. There we go. So I did a double half hitch. And I can't not do a little whip finish on it. All right. I'm using, again, 6/0 here so you can see it. So it kind of makes a bulky head on it, but it's still not bad. Now this fly looks really buggy on the camera because the light hits all those stray fibers, but there we go. Copy number 2. Yeah, it kind of does. We all online Sam Poole over here said like a Mexican hairless dog to him. Now, again, you can see that you can really use any color partridge or any type of soft tackle you want. It's a really good, just generic soft tackle platform. It's a great fly. And if you want it to sink, just use a little heavier hook. Or if you add lead to it and get rid of the little cream colored piece in the front, you have Jeff Guering's Long Creek fly that he sells up there. And you fish it like a small streamer. It has lead and it sinks, lead wire. So the Long Creek is basically this fly. If I get rid of the cream hackle I'm sorry, the cream dubbing, move the hackle to the front and put a little lead wire on it. That's his Long Creek. And he uses a straight hook for the Long Creek, but you can certainly use this. All right, sorry for the tech difficulties, folks. We have to roll with the flow sometimes, so.
See how this is working. Bill's gonna want the club to buy him a new phone when he does fly tying.
No, we need a 4K mirrorless. Don't we need a 4K mirrorless?
Yeah, I've got 4K mirrorless
Yeah.
mirrorless at home that I use for video. And it doesn't overheat. You can run it.
Well, this is the first time this has ever overheated. I've used it here for what? I've used it for all through COVID and everything else. 2 years worth, yeah. I just need a new
A
phone.
lot of hot phones, but everybody has one now, so nobody steals them.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, Billy.
I think the choir members need to talk to my wife about me needing a new phone. In choir.
Do that.
All right, let's, any questions, any final questions, comments, criticisms? If you have criticisms, email them to Rich. He'll take care of those. He's the most diplomatic one of us, I think. So as far as, again, for those of you that don't fish the little moe or maybe fish a March brown hatch, I can't help but believe this fish, see, my language is not working out. This fly will kill bluegill. I can't see how it would. Haven't tried it yet, but I'm going to. Yeah, the Long Creek does. It's kind of like a Ross burr, and it's not the same fly. Now, for next month, stay on the edge of your seats here. We are going to tie the hairy bug. This is a pattern. This actual copy was Ray Boudreau, who back about 2 years ago, or maybe it was right before COVID, catch your lettuce and tying the black Boudreau. Ray created that fly. He didn't create this fly, but he was tying it at the Red Stick Festival this 2 weeks ago, and he gave me a copy of it. He said it was just an outstanding panfish bluegill fly. So it uses turkey bite and dry fly hackle. So it's like a big griffin's gnat with turkey bite tails, basically, but it sinks. It's on a jig head, so it sinks. So that is our April fly. And then our May fly, no pun intended, is this big guy. This is May's full motion crawfish, I think is the name of it, but it's a crawfish pattern. Darren Lee, who lives in Opelousas, was tying, and what attracted us to his table, and Mike Carlin was there. He has a Norvise like Bruce has over here, and they're bearing driven with like a flywheel in it. You can really spin it. And he has this technique. If you go to the Norvise YouTube site, you can see how they dub with it. It's really cool. But this crawfish pattern is one of the easier ones to tie. It uses rabbit for the claws in the back, and basically some dubbing and some fuzzy skin or fuzzy foam, and we have some eyes in the back, and that's pretty much it. But good crawfish pattern. That will be our May pattern to tie. All right, y'all. Thanks for sticking with us tonight through all the tech difficulties. John, Flip, Peter, Tom, glad to see you here.
Thank you. Great class. Great class.
On the Zoom, so everybody can see you now. You just can't see them.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot, y'all.
Good night, Bill.
Sorry for the tech issues.
No problem.
All right. Have a good evening. Enjoyed it.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if y'all want some dubbing, we have plenty of dubbing, so. Yeah, and
What's your blend on this right here? What is it?
that is plain rabbit, cream and tan, 50/50. Wapsie rabbit. It's,
He got
the package is just Wapsie rabbit. Now, this is their kind of rusty brown. I don't see why that would work by itself. Yeah. But this blend is all of this stuff.
Yeah, I got
But,
make sure I got it.
yep, you'll grab some of it, and really a 50-cent size piece will tie you a dozen flies.
Yeah,
So it doesn't take a lot.
I had some, I guess some bull, I guess it's called dark blood red or something like that. But it has a lot more.
So this is a rusty brown, I think we call that.
Okay.
So you can mix that rusty brown with just some hairs here and natural hairs, and it would be fine. I mean, you don't have to match it exactly, but I was trying to duplicate his fly.
Yeah, had too much. Had too much.
Actually, they were kind of, I was surprised, I was
Yeah, this is one I want.
Oh, yeah.
I think so, man. That's pretty cool. So where'd you get the little grippers?
Amazon,
Amazon.
$6 for 10 of them.
Perfect.
Find the right kind, I got the wrong kind. Well, I got,
Yep, $6 for 10 of them, and they work perfect. There's two more back.
I ended up finding, when we first went on our first account, I bought some from you.
Uh-huh.
You know, so now that you showed me this, I'm like, I want to run it.
Do you still have some of them?
Uh-huh.
some of this.
Yeah, you might want to compare them. His blend changes. I think he's mixes it, sometimes it's browner, sometimes it's redder. But I think from the fishability perspective, I think you'll see this is just fine.
And then now,
That's it.
so you recommend buying the big one?
I'd do this and cut it. You want to split it with somebody $25 each, take a regular
Okay,
knife, cut it
and
in
you were
half.
mentioning 12, 14.
Well, you judge it
I'm
by,
good with feathers.
I'm not, I can figure that out.
you want, once you peel it back, you want that feather to be roughly the length of the hook shank, of the shank of the hook.
Yeah, so you're
Roughly.
talking from here?
No, from here to here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you lay that across your hook,
Yeah,
and you want it to be roughly that length. Some people say 2 gaps, but gaps change so much with hook to hook.
okay.
I just look at something that's about the same
So
length.
when I'm looking here, that's what I'm looking for, the feather
Yeah.
length.
Yeah, and like here.
Oh, I'm sorry, here.
Yeah, yeah, you're looking at the feather width, actually. Well, like this one, let's take this one. Once I peel this one back to where I'm gonna use it, it depends on how much you want.
Right.
Let's just say it's
Ah,
right
there you
there. All right, I'll look at it, right there.
Mhm.
And wherever these hooks are here. You can see that's really about the same
Yeah.
length as the shaft, so that's just the right size.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for, and that's why you said you can have 10,000 of them,
Oh, there's thousands.
because, so that is the best.
Or is that too many? But I mean, that's high, 100 flies.
This will?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't need that.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna tie is about 20.
Yeah,
I
but
mean-
if you do like I did just then, I broke through half before I got the third one on.
You want to tie about 20?
Yeah.
I take 5 or 6 of those and take all of these.
Yeah, this is the wings.
That's the wing.
That's the big, no,
That's-
this is
that's
the small part that you,
That's these down here. That's the front part.
that's the front part. And these are the long ones.
The long
that
ones you
use for
strip for the tail, yeah.
Take about 5 or
I'm gonna
6.
do,
That's from that,
no, that's from these wings. These are about, and these are pretty decent.
but it's that wing from,
It is, it's there.
okay, I see,
Mhm.
I see.
Yeah, but you can buy these $6 a pair.
Now, I'm gonna